What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my initial impressions of Titanfall 2 based on the full game now. The full game is out, and I want to let you guys know what I think of it and answer the question that a lot of people have been asking me, and that is it worth a buy? Let's get into it. Alright guys, so starting it off, just want to let you guys know that EA did send me a free copy of this game, actually a few free copies. They gave me a review copy as well as copies to give away to other people. There was no expectation attached to that, no money attached to that, so this is not a sponsored video, but they did provide me with a review copy and said just basically enjoy it. If you want to make a video on it, great. If not, no big deal. So first up, we're going to get into the campaign or the story mode of this game. I know you're watching multiplayer gameplay in the background, but I definitely wanted to talk about the story mode because that is a huge part of this game. Like I said, this is an initial impressions. I haven't played through the entire campaign yet, but I have played through a pretty good chunk of it. I feel like I've got a really good feel of what they're going for with the campaign, and I really enjoy it so far. I'm not much of a campaign player. I'm all about multiplayer, and to be realistic here, most of my playtime is going to be in multiplayer. But I still feel that the campaign in this game is definitely worth a playthrough. And that's saying something, because Call of Duty, for instance, is my main game. That's what I do, is Call of Duty. And I didn't even play the campaign for Black Ops 3. I had no interest in it. I started playing it, and it was just kind of boring. I didn't really enjoy myself with it. Whereas with this game, I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. I'm into the story. I'm getting attached to the Titan, who is like a character in the game, but not even like a real person. It's just like a Titan, a robot. I'm getting attached to certain characters and stuff. There's really cool boss battles. There's all kinds of really funny references and stuff that they make within the campaign. Just little things that you might pick up on that are references to like other like movies or shows or video games or something like that. And I thought that was really, really neat. Also, the gameplay in the campaign, it isn't just straight like go from point A to point B and kill everything in between. There's actually a little bit of thinking involved, like how do I get from point A to point B? There might be some like moving elements that you have to figure out how to wall run on and stuff in order to get to where you need to be. And I'm really enjoying that experience. I can't wait until I have time for another play session. Unfortunately, I won't today, but as soon as I have time for another campaign play session, I'm really excited to get to that next boss battle, because that's another thing. They've got boss battles. So throughout each level, it seems, there'll be like a boss that you can hear like on the intercom and stuff talking and kind of sending these waves of enemies after you and stuff, and kind of controlling what's going on, and you know that you're eventually going to be getting to that boss battle. You're going to be fighting that boss who, at least so far, those bosses all have Titans. So you're like working through as a pilot, and you're getting all these kills and stuff. Most of the gameplay seems to be as a pilot in campaign, and then you get to that final boss battle where you're in your Titan and you're beating up on the boss, and you got to try and kill that boss and then move on to the next level, basically. And overall, that's really all I wanted to say with the campaign. A very enjoyable experience, and that's coming from somebody that isn't really into campaigns. So now let's move on to the part that probably most of you guys are here for. That is multiplayer, which is what you're watching in the background. You're watching a little bit of Bounty Hunt, which is a brand new game mode that they added to Titanfall 2. And that brings me to my first point, content. The amount of content in this game compared to the first Titanfall is crazy. That was one of the biggest things with the first Titanfall I found, where I kind of lost interest in the game. I enjoyed the core gameplay, I had a lot of fun with it, but it got to the point where it's just like, I feel like I've done everything that I really want to do, I've unlocked everything in the game, and there's just nothing else for me with this game. It just feels like I'm playing the game for the sake of playing the game. There's nothing to really work towards. With this game, that's not going to be a problem for a very long time. There's tons of content this time around. There's customization type of content, there's a lot more guns, there's more game modes. There's just so much more to do and so much more to keep your attention with this game for a long period of time. So in the content department, I would say that's a huge plus for this game, especially if you're comparing it to the original Titanfall. Next up, let's just talk overall movement mechanics and just overall gameplay feel. It does feel somewhat similar to Titanfall 1, but there's a few additions like the grapple hook, which for me, I see the grapple as a positive as well as a negative. It's a really cool way to get around the map. It allows you to get from point A to point B a little bit faster in some situations, and it can be used really strategically, and you can get some really cool kills with it. If you happen to grapple an enemy pilot and pull him towards you and kick him, it's one of the most satisfying kills you can get. Having said this, I feel like grapple is a bit of a crutch, at least for me. I feel like if I'm not using grapple, which is a class point, like you actually have to select grapple and choose that over something like Cloak or Stim or one of the other ones there. You have to choose Grapple over one of those, and to me, it's a crutch. If I don't have Grapple, I feel like I'm really hampering my gameplay, putting myself at a disadvantage, and I don't like that. I don't like being practically forced to use something, or it feels like I'm being forced to use something just because I enjoy it so much. And that's where I would say that Grapple is a bit of a negative for me. Either I would say take it out of the game, or give it to everyone all the time. This is just my initial thoughts on it though. It might be a little bit too crazy if everybody's running around with a Grapple, and there is that little bit of trade-off, but I just feel like nothing really competes with the Grapple at this point. It might just take a little bit more of a learning curve though. And this is a great way to transition to the next thing I want to talk about, and that is how is the overall learning curve of this game. I would say if you're not new to first-person shooters, the entire core gameplay is very intuitive. It might look pretty fancy and complicated when you see somebody wall running all over the place, and there definitely is a learning curve to chaining movement together and everything like that. You'll actually see in my gameplay, I'm not the greatest at doing that, which is part of the reason I rely so much on the grapple hook. But overall, everything feels really smooth and intuitive. I would say a big part of the learning curve comes down to just knowing what everything means. There's a lot going on the screen in this game. If you haven't played this game before, you're likely very confused about a lot of the icons in the heads-up display, for instance, and what the goal is, like what I'm supposed to actually be doing right now. And that does take a little bit of getting used to. Like my first game of this particular game mode when I was playing at Respawn Studios several months ago, I didn't even deposit any money, which is like the purpose of the game mode. I didn't know what I was doing just because I was so overwhelmed by what was going on. You will get a handle for this after a little while, but there is that learning curve. Same thing goes with like your heads-up display, for instance. There's a lot going on there, and it does take some time to get used to what everything means and what you're supposed to be doing, but it's really not that bad. You might feel kind of lost at first, but pay attention, stick with it, pay attention to your heads-up display a little bit more, try to figure out what everything means, and you will start to get used to it over time. Next up, I want to talk about Titan gameplay. So everything I've really mentioned so far has been focusing more on the pilot gameplay, which is, just in case you're wondering, pilot means like you're not in a Titan, you're just running around with your regular gun, like a regular sort of first-person shooter, and then the Titans are the big mech suits. So with the Titan gameplay, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a huge fan of the Titan gameplay. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the Titan gameplay. It's just not something that interests me as much. I don't enjoy myself as much when I'm in a Titan as when I'm in a pilot. And you'll probably see, especially for those experienced Titanfall players, you'll probably see that I'm not a very good Titan controller. I'm not very good in a Titan. And I fully admit to that. I just prefer the faster pace, sort of like the twitch action of being a pilot, rather than the clunkier sort of feeling of being in a Titan. The gameplay style is completely different. I know a lot of people, they would much rather be in a Titan, but for me, a lot of the times, I'll just leave my Titan to do its own thing, which is one thing I like about the gameplay. You can leave your Titan on its own and you can keep running around as a pilot, and you can even put a kit on it that makes it more powerful as AI, but it sacrifices something that you would normally be using if you were controlling the Titan. So I usually put that AI chip on so it makes it more powerful, and then I just sort of run around my Titan. I'll hop into it every now and then when the situation demands it, but most of the time I'll just stay on my feet and keep killing pilots, and that's the gameplay that I enjoy, and that's one thing that I like about that. Even if you aren't really into the Titan gameplay, you don't need to be in your Titan all the time. Next up, one of the big criticisms of Titanfall is the AI bots that are in the game, and you'll see there is some AI bots in the game here. They show up as orange, they're called grunts or specters, or there might even be a couple other ones like reapers or something that you might see in here. And a lot of people seem to think that this is what the entire game centers around, is that. And that's not it at all. It depends on the game mode. There are definitely a bunch of game modes now that don't have any AI at all. So like pilot versus pilot, there's only pilots. There's no Titans, there's no AI, it's just you against other players. And that's one of my favorite game modes. Having said this, the AI in this game, they're just cannon fodder, basically. They're just something that you fight over with the enemy team in order to build up score for your team. And a lot of people don't realize that. The core focus isn't killing these bots. It's not impressive to be killing these bots, and it's not supposed to be impressive. They're supposed to be things that you do to build up points. It's just targets to shoot at to build up points. The real core gameplay is how you're fighting against the enemy team and trying to beat them to those points. So while you're killing these grunts really easily, you always have to keep in the back of your mind, now where are the enemy pilots? Are they coming in to try and kill the same grunts as me? You have to fight over these grunt kills with the enemy team, and I really like that sort of interaction. I feel like they improved on it quite a bit from Titanfall 1. Moving on to the next thing, and I'm definitely going to be a bit critical here, that is gun balance in this game. Now, like I said, there is more gun selection than Titanfall 1. Actually, from what I remember, there's a lot more gun selection in this game. It's still not going to be near the level of Battlefield or Call of Duty, for instance, but there are several assault rifles to choose from, several SMGs to choose from, several LMGs, several shotguns, several snipers, whereas in Titanfall 1, you got like 1 or 2 of each of these. But my issue with Titanfall 2's gun balance is this gun that I'm using right here. It's the R201, which is like the basic assault rifle that you unlock right from the beginning of the game. And in my opinion, it's just the best thing for all situations. It's super, super versatile. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to be statistically beat out by SMGs up close. But in this game, with the time to kill being really quick, that difference isn't really noticeable. I feel very comfortable up close with this gun. I feel very comfortable at mid-range with this gun. And I feel quite comfortable at long range with this gun as well. I feel more comfortable with this gun at long range than I do with a lot of the sniper rifles in this game. And to me, that's a bit of an issue. And this was my issue as well when we got to play this game early, when we were playing the pre-alpha tech test, as well as when I got to play at Respawn Studios. This gun, in my mind, was just a little too versatile. I don't want to say powerful, but too versatile. And I still have a feeling that it is. I think they might have nerfed it a little bit. It seems like they might have added a bit of recoil to it or something. But in my mind, it's still like the best choice to have. If I'm ever having any kind of a problem, doesn't matter which map we're playing or anything like that, if I'm ever struggling, I pull this gun out and I start doing immediately well because I can handle any situation that is thrown at me. Whereas if I'm using an SMG, I can only handle a select number of situations, and I really have to actively set myself up for those situations. I can't just do whatever I want and have a gun that's good at everything. So keep in mind, I haven't unlocked every single gun yet, so maybe my opinion will change on this, but as it is right now, I see no reason to use anything but the R201 assault rifle. Now, having said this, if you are getting into the game for the first time and you're kind of nervous, you don't know how the game works too well, and you just want to be able to not really worry about your class too much and you just want to learn the game, use the R201, which is the first assault rifle you unlock. Use that and you won't be putting yourself at a disadvantage at all by using that. You'll be setting yourself up as well as you possibly can for success. So those are all the main things that kind of popped into my mind as I was trying to think of an initial impression of the game. Those are the things that really stood out for me. And as for the question, is this game worth a buy? I would say if you enjoyed the core gameplay of Titanfall 1, if you did play Titanfall 1 and you enjoyed the core gameplay, absolutely, this is definitely worth a buy. Also, if you consider yourself to be like a hardcore first-person shooter fan, I would say this is kind of a must-have game in your collection. It's got its own unique gameplay style. There's nothing that really compares to this with the interaction between pilots and Titans and the way that you move around the map and stuff. A lot of people like to compare this to like Call of Duty's movement system now, like Infinite Warfare or Black Ops 3. It's very, very different. It has a similar elements, but it feels completely different. So I wouldn't really compare it too much to Call of Duty's movement system or anything like that. But yes, if you're a hardcore FPS gamer, I would highly recommend it. And if you don't meet either of those criteria, I would just say judge it based on the gameplay that you see. Does it look like this gameplay experience would be enjoyable for you? Do you like the idea of playing kind of like cat and mouse with Titans? When you're a pilot, you have to use your movement to get around the map properly, and then you can get into this Titan and you can have Titan battles and you can pick people off with it. Do you like the looks of this? If so, I would say yes, this game is worth a buy. One of the nice things I can say about this game is it's a polished, finished product. It's ready to go out of the box. There aren't any glaring issues in the game that I can see. There might be some preference type things where you might not like a certain element or something like that, but from a technical standpoint and from a balance standpoint, everything seems to be very solid based on what I've seen so far. So I'd like to know in the comment section below. For those of you that have Titanfall 2, let's help people make a decision. Let me know and let them know in the comment section below what you think of this game so far. Is it worth a buy or is it not worth a buy in your opinion? I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll talk to you guys next time.